Welcome back to the Iron Insight. Thank you for starting your week off right with the Iron Insight every Monday morning at 4 a.m. I'm Bryn.
And I'm Andrew Nichols, the co-host.
How's it going? We're here with Big Mike.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
Well, we're doing good, Big Mike. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Just enjoying this lovely morning.
It's a little on the early side. Big Mike took the earliest show, so we're gonna give him a little bit of time to wake up. But we know it's gonna be a good episode.
Much appreciated.
Big Mike, when did you get your start in welding?
It would have to be back when I turned 18, and it was kind of a funny story. I actually used to be an irrigation repairman with my grandfather from the time I was 5 years old until I was about to turn 18, and I was a senior in high school, and it was in the middle of the semester, and then my grandfather just said that it was probably a good idea that I go study something else besides irrigation because I was already going to go to college. He just said it was probably a better idea for me to go study something else and not be a one-trick pony and stick to being limited to an irrigation repairman. So I just did a little bit of a spiritual thinking and praying, and then eventually the Tulsa Welding School popped up, and it gave me the idea to go to welding. And so I went to Dodge City Community College and learned all the welding styles and just fell in love with it. It was awesome.
I got a buddy from Dodge. And where are you from in Kansas?
I'm originally from the southwest Kansas corner area. I would move around between Holcomb, Garden City, and Dodge and Ingalls. And I graduated from Ingalls back in 2012. And that's pretty much where I ended up.
Dodge City, they got a bunch of cowboy history like Wyatt Earp and
yep. Boot Hill. That's their icon, and they actually recently started a distillery, and that they call it Boot Hill Distillery, and they sell whiskey and all kinds of stuff. And the owner, nice guy, I actually know him. I was actually in college when he started, and he actually heard I was a welder, and he asked me if I could do all the plumbing and stuff at his place, and I was like, I'm a little untrained for that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I go to Arkansas City, Kansas, like once a month, and you were saying how you did some work with a buddy at Creekstone Farms.
My buddy Dre. He has his own business and stuff, and he does plant shutdowns and stuff. And sometimes we go into those facilities to replace parts that are needing to be fixed, so that whenever they're done with the shutdowns, their people can get back to work and back to the slaughterhouses and stuff.
You know who else is from, or I guess you're not from, but you know who lives in Ark City? Bob Moffitt.
No way! Oh shoot! Yeah, that's right. I remember your episode with him on that.
Oh yeah.
But now
good
you're
old
not
Bob.
so much in Kansas. You're a traveling welder, right?
Yep, I've been traveling now for about 2 years.
2 years, and before that, you were just local.
Yeah, back then, let's see, right after I graduated college with my welding certs and degrees and stuff, I stayed local for a while just because I wanted to stay close to my family because we were dealing with some stuff, and I was trying to be there for my sisters and everything. And I started working for an iron worker and a millwright company for about 5.5 years. And then I got into it with the foreman. Me and him were starting to butt heads, and I eventually became I was a dick and just rude and became hard to work with. Basically, I was a cancer to the company, and so the boss cut me. And then I started working for a company that dealt with those wind turbines and solar panels and stuff.
Yeah.
And I worked as a crane rigger and a forklift operator and a welder for them. And then eventually I rigged up in a way, but I wasn't able to get the LLC because I didn't have the money. And then COVID hit, made things worse. And then eventually I quit working for them and started working for a few fabrication shops. And then finally ended up in a place close to Wilson, where I met a bunch of these guys that were subcontract welders, and they were travelers. And they're like, "Hey, Mike, you're single, got no kids, you got no wife. Why don't you just go ahead and come hit the road with us like we do?" I was like, "Well, how do I get on?" And they said, "Just look on Indeed and look for travel welding or welding per diem jobs, and you'll eventually find one." And then I found one and got on, and it was pretty much quite the journey and something I never expected.
What where was that first job at?
If funny enough, it was actually in Kansas. It was an
Oh,
it was Adco. It was in Adco for a while. We were supposed to be there for only 6 months, but eventually, close to the end of the contract, they wanted to extend me for another 6 months. So I ended up being there for a full year, and then finally I got sent to Ohio for supposed to be 6 months, but it turned into only 3 months. And then I went to Fargo, North Dakota, and then went to Christmas hit, and then I went to Tennessee, and then Kentucky, and now I'm back in Ohio.
Nice. So what were you doing on that first job there in Kansas?
We were just doing a bunch of fabrication, and I was making the big square baler floors and stuff.
Okay.
And basically, I had to make about 10 units a day or so, and it was pretty easy to make as long as the guy before me who puts the stuff together did his part. And as long as he didn't screw up, then it was easy to do. But unfortunately, he screwed up a lot, so I had to fix it.
where's Adco at? Is that in Salina?
No, it's in Heston, Kansas.
Heston.
Unfortunately, I actually heard recently that they're downsizing this coming year because due to high property taxes and stuff. So
That's what I
companies in
thought.
Kansas are kind of either closing or downsizing.
Yeah, a lot are in Nebraska too.
Yeah,
It's
no kidding.
it's a
It's the same
slow.
down here in Florida. People are slowing down here as well.
I drive through Heston when I'm going to Arc City. They got like we think of it as the Peanut Man, like a big ass statue along the highway, and it looks like I think it's Planter's Peanut Man with
Oh
the
yeah,
glasses and the top hat, but I can't remember what it is. But
I can't
it's
remember it either. I never really looked into it much because I was one of those. I'm one of those people who just does his job and doesn't do much of anything else. I just go there, go home. That's my life, pretty much.
oh dang. Well, that
So I don't. Oh, yeah.
that's my next question was, what's your favorite city you've worked in?
Yep.
Hmm. Well, it's kind of a tie. It's kind of a tie between Tennessee and Fargo, just because in Tennessee I was like in the middle of between Memphis and Nashville.
Mm.
I unfortunately only got a chance to go to Memphis for how my work schedule worked, and I got to check out Elvis Presley's house and got to see some parts of Memphis, and still was a lot of fun. But even in but in case I really liked the scenery and the view and stuff. It was very open and not so loud all the time compared to being in the city all the time.
That case job was in Fargo, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, we have a case New Holland here in Nebraska, or in Grand Island actually. But
we just that was about a year ago I think since I've gone there. Like last year or in October.
Hmm.
I remember, I can't remember what job you were on. I think it might have been Tennessee or Kentucky or something over there when we started to try to get you on the pod, but it's
Oh, it was
difficult because you got weird shifts on some of
it
the
was
jobs.
Kentucky because I had 12-hour shifts on the weekend. Had no day. I had days off on Wednesdays and Thursday, and I only worked 8 on Tuesdays and Fridays, and 10 on a Monday.
That's a
No,
weird
that's crazy.
schedule.
That's a
Well,
weird schedule.
the reason why is because for the company I work for, in our contract, it says that we are guaranteed 50 hours a week for work. Now, and if a company, except for holiday weeks, so if a company doesn't give us the hours we need, they have to supply it. So they don't. A lot of companies don't want to give you free hours, so they have to fill it in,
Yeah,
and they don't want to give away hours because they're nickel and diamond, so that they can try to keep their company afloat. So it's one of those things where it's like they got to keep you busy so that they feel fine with you there.
yeah.
Yeah.
And now that we've heard your favorite cities, what was the worst job you've been on so far that you probably won't ever go back to
Mm, with the traveling or with in general?
in general?
It'd have to be this back home in Garden City. This one facility, but it's just because of the way it's managed. It's There's a lack of communication, and it's a lot of misunderstandings. And I was only at this one facility for a month, and they cut me because I wasn't producing to their standards, but it's because their setup was not helpful, and it was just poor management and just really frustrating. But I mean, they're still good people. Just the management just is kind of a pain in the butt.
Yeah, I saw this post the other day that kind of really opened my eyes a bit. It's not that the job is shitty, it's that the management is. And that's kind of how it was for me when I left my last job. Was they just, the company I'm at now, the management, if this makes my job easier, sure, we'll buy it. That's what they say. I mean, they're super supportive and it's good management. I see the owner of the company every single day. That's something that never would have happened at the last job.
Well, you see what the problem was is that in the station where me and all the people were working, there was only 2 roof cranes available, but there was 4 or 5 guys in the state in this area alone, and we were building tanks, tops and bottoms for oil tanks. And when 2 of the cranes were occupied, I was there just twiddling my thumbs, or so I would help those guys get the crane available. And by the time I was finally set in mine, I was doing it by myself. And those guys, they'd make 1.5 of the tanks in one day, and I'd be only making 1 in a day. And it was pissing the foreman off because he's like, "You need to be making 1.5 in a day." I'm like, "Well, kind of difficult when I don't have a roof crane. I'm not Superman."
Yeah. But you have lifted some heavy things. You used to be a male cheerleader, right?
Yes, this is true. I was only doing that during college, but it was just because I needed the scholarship. But it was still a lot of fun doing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sometimes you'll hit the screen ain't wide enough, but yeah, that right there. You'll hit that in some of your posts promoting the Bokamal FR. And speaking of them, how did you hook up with them?
Yeah, it's actually kind of a funny story. When I started with this traveling job, a lot of the facilities they gave us some of our FR clothing and stuff. Problem was they gave us that Black Stallion stuff, and I mean they're good. They're a good company, and don't get me wrong, but their black coats just had this weird chemical on them that just made me break out, and it was just constant irritation. So I just didn't wear it, and I just wear a t-shirt and something that just was not safe. I mean, I used to weld with just a t-shirt, and I didn't have no problems besides a few burns here and there. But they eventually, my project manager, she sees my arms looking like a heroin addict, and she's looking at me, and she just tells me, "Mike, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm working," and she's like, "Yeah, but why aren't you wearing proper clothing? Like that stuff irritates my skin, and I'm just breaking out in hives." So she's like, "Well, find something else then." I'm like, "Fine, dang." So I just hop online, I hop on Amazon, I'm like affordable FR clothing, and I find 3 different products, and then I test out their products on a 10-hour shift, and then Bokamal just stood out, and I was just like, "Huh, I've never heard of this. I've never heard of these guys." So I look them up, and only person I see talking about him is Joey Caruso from Mullet Welders. He's the only guy talking about him. So I was like, "Huh." And at this time, I had 10,000 followers on TikTok. So I thought, hey, maybe I can promote their product because this is actually kind of cool stuff. So I messaged their social media handler, and I was like, "Look, my name's Michael. I really like your products. I would just like to know that if I talk about your stuff, will I or will not get sued? Just because I'm trying to cover my ass, because I don't know how that stuff works."
Yeah.
And she just said, "Well, we never heard of you." And she looks me up and stuff, and she's like, "Yeah, we're fine with you talking about our products." And she's like, "In fact, send me your address and stuff." So she sends me a few products, and one of them was my trademark orange shirt and this long sleeved red and black shirt, which I still have. It's just really comfy, so I don't like wearing it at work. And eventually, I kept promoting their products online and just kept showing demos. Eventually, I met the boss at Fabtech when I asked them if they ever heard of Fabtech, and they said no, we've never heard of it. I was like, I think it'd be a great opportunity for y'all. I'm just saying it. And so I was already going because I wanted to go meet all of y'all, and also because Joey told me that I should come. And so, but eventually, they just said, "Hey, we decided to get a booth at Fabtech, and we want you to come with us." I was like, "Really? Awesome! I'm in."
And what? Oh, you were at the what? It's an oil show.
The OTC.
Yeah.
Ocean Technology Conference or Center.
And
It's they have it in Houston every year, but Houston or some other places every year, at least according to the boss. Yeah, but they do it, and there's like the bunch of countries coming into this area, and it's like a whole world summit in a way. And you're seeing people from Afghanistan, Nigeria, Japan, China, even in parts of Guam, and you're just like, holy crap. If we were all wearing suits, we'd be politicians right now.
But you weren't wearing suits. You were wearing your signature orange flannel FR from Bokomo. And so was Little Mike. How was it shooting with Little Mike or Dr. Welds?
Oh man, that was a lot of fun. It was actually kind of hilarious. First, Austin messaged me about helping him out because he got asked to come test out that flux core wire at that company, and he couldn't make it there for the first day because of scheduling conflicts. So he called me asking me if I could fill in for him, but I had already made dedications to Bokomo, so I was like, "I'm sorry, but I can't do it this time." He's like, "That's all right," but he ended up swinging by the second day. Actually, I ran into him on the second day, and he just asked me, like, hey, Mike, you want to shoot a video for weld.com? I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. And so we go ahead and we just went around this OTC section and just found random people to ask, hey, you got a grinder?
Yeah.
And then eventually we unintentionally actually ended up both with the orange plaid shirt. And I was like, that's just too perfect. Because he was like my skeleton almost in a way.
We'll pop up a picture of him right here. Clip that and put it on the social media. That's funny.
Yeah, but man, Austin's he's an awesome dude. He definitely knows what he's talking about with stuff.
Yeah, that you guys were doing a flux core that you didn't have to chip the slag off of, right?
Yeah, he actually, it was just a brainstorm idea for him because you know how they always, when you're in school and stuff, they said you had to clean off your material before you run your next pass so that you get you don't get slag inclusions or none of that crap. Well, he wanted this boiler wire that we were testing out was supposed to revolutionize that. So we tried it out to see if it does what it says, or if it was just one of those things where, kind of like when Bo was at Jason's school when he put a gas in with a self-shielded flux core. He just wanted to see what would happen. It's not recommended you weld over slag, just see if you could.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How did you think it ran?
I think it went pretty well. Just a little ran hotter than I expected, and I was pretty impressed with it. I just had to keep fighting the temptation to peel off the slag because sometimes it just started peeling off on its own, and you're just like, crap, that just looks too good. You just like want to pick it up and just lift it away, but you couldn't because of the video.
Yeah. And then he took it to Precision Welding Academy and did some destructive testing on it after.
Yeah, I think so. I think he said that there was just like some minor inclusions, and
Yeah, I
Might have
mean,
been a mixed. It might have been a little bit of a fusion, but it was okay.
I thought it was fairly good for running over all that flux.
Yeah, I mean, he said, yeah, he actually, it's actually kind of funny. We had to wait for approval for the video to get posted, and I actually had messaged him the week before asking him how the test results went since we hadn't seen it, and he just said like, "Oh yeah, the mine completely, my root didn't pass, my cap passed, but and then yours just had little inclusions, but it was pretty good." And I was like, "Cool." And then the following day, I'm at work and my phone's getting a notification on Instagram that Kyle was tagging me, and I was like, "Holy crap, my video's up finally!"
What
It's
did
a great
you?
feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What did you think about the OTC show compared to Fabtech?
it's just definitely different because you think about other countries and stuff. You think how they run their stuff. It's definitely a whole. It's definitely eye opening with how things work around their countries and how things work around in America. It's not bad, but it's also kind of confusing in a way because, like for Bokomal's products, we're actually rated to be out in oils and gas fields with some of our clothing, with a lot of our clothing actually, and but we can't. Our products aren't licensed to be in Guam or Nigeria or parts of Afghanistan because we don't have the proper licensing for it or the proper testing for it. And I'm just like, that is really confusing, but I don't understand why. But I guess it's their regulations, so we got to follow their stuff. And compared to Fabtech, it's like you're studying welding, stuff that has to do with welding, whether it's the cutting and processing, your safety, the welding itself, or if it's finishing. There's just oil and safety gear to help the workers out do their job better.
And did you get to enjoy Houston? Had you been there before?
No, it was my first time in Houston, and it was pretty decent, just minus the traffic.
Did you
But
drive
it
there?
was oh good.
Did you drive there?
Yeah, I drove. I drove from Kentucky to um to Houston, and it was about a 14-hour drive.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was definitely a drive. It was a ride, but wasn't able to get back to work when I had planned. So I had to call my project manager and say, "Hey, I'm going to be a day late." And then she's like, "Okay, just drive safe." I'm like, "I will."
Well, that's pretty chill. And speaking of Fabtech, are you gonna be in Orlando?
Oh hell yeah, man!
Yes.
I've
We're
been.
seeing Big Mike on the scene in Orlando. Hell yeah.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm not going to be swinging from the towers like King Kong.
Will we see you in trademark orange though? That's the main question. Or is that to be determined?
That will be determined. The owner, he has us wear these special shirts that have the logo on the back end that we wear during the event itself. But after after the OTC, I think you might be open to the idea of having both available for in case if ever there's like demonstrations that want to be done. If I want to go do something, especially since we got a bigger booth, and we also brought on a second person to come help us with the show.
Can you reveal who that's gonna be?
It's Lonnie, aka Lip and Stick Welding.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah, no, I
all
know what
right.
you're talking about.
Yeah, the girl that's known for her thick thighs.
He's got the hood in the hotel room with him.
She's pretty cool. She's pretty cool. I've been friends with her for over 2 years, and she talked about going to stuff like this, and she also has a background in marketing. So I was like, I think she'd be perfect, and especially when we're trying to get into a female line right now, and it's a touch and go thing because we got to go through licensing and testing and making sure it works properly, and I think she'd be perfect for it.
I saw you make a video, and I want to try the long sleeve with the vent holes on the sides and up the bottom of your
Oh,
arms.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
these.
like that one right there.
Yeah, they're new breezy. Yeah, they're new breezy shirts.
Yeah, I
There's
gotta get a
the.
hold of one of them.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, these shirts are like less than $40, and especially if you use my promo code on the website.
What did you think of your first Fabtech?
Oh man, it was best way to describe it. It was like a welder's wonderland, and things you just like you never thought of that was possible. Just it was there, and or there's things like you never, no things that never crossed your mind, and the fact that we were doing more than just welding. We had we had CNCs, we had machines there that were, and we had booths with all the demos and stuff uh, with ESOP, Everlast, Lincoln, all of them had their demos going, and you're just like seeing sparks flying, grinders spinning, and you're just like, this is too cool.
I know, and everybody. It's like a sense of community. Everybody comes together. You know, a lot of welders are pretty tough on each other over the internet, those internet CWIs. But once you're at Fabtech, it's pretty cool to see everybody come together and the projects that get talked about and then come to fruition and people that get to meet.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny. Somebody actually mixed me up with you, Bryn.
This happens often. This happened the other day. Jesus from Outlaw Leather, he goes, "Hey man, I heard you were down in Houston. Why didn't you come through?" And I was like, "Dude, I haven't been to Houston in like 3 years. This has to be Big Mike." And he was like, "You're right. It's Big Mike."
Yeah, actually, I did go to Outlaw Leather. Unfortunately, Jesus and Ishmael, they were off in New York when the event was going on, so I missed them. So,
Oh,
I still checked out their place where they do all their video shoots, and that was pretty cool. And I mean, some people didn't recognize me or nothing, which in a way I think was okay. Just I got to check out their whole setup and stuff, and I saw Slickman, Gloves, Blue Demons, saw all their hoods, obviously, and I mean,
that's pretty cool.
I wanted to grab one of their hoods, but my bank account was like, nope, don't do it.
Who mixed us up?
My videos?
No, who got me and you mixed up? Or they?
I can't remember who, but it was like I was. I can't remember if I was at the Hard Rock Cafe or if I was setting up. I was helping with the setup over at Bokomo Station, and some guy just walks over and says, "Hey, Bryn." I was like, "I'm working," and they're like, "Bryn." I'm like, "You talking to me?" He's like, "Oh shoot, I'm so sorry, dude." And I was like, "No, I'm Mike. Hi." And then he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And he just walks away, and I'm just like, "Okay."
Man, I really wonder who that was. If you're listening and that was you, shoot me a message. That's funny. It's happened to me multiple times before.
Yeah, that's what I was like, found crazy because you're like 11 years younger than me, and like I mean, like if you still get us next to each other, yeah, it could pass us in a way, but I think you got longer hair than I do.
Yeah, it's down to like the middle of my back.
Yeah, mine's growing. It's close to my neck.
That's funny. Yeah, I remember somebody slid up on my Instagram story when we took that selfie. I think it was me, you, and I Heart Metal Art.
Johnny, actually.
Oh, it was Johnny. That's right. At the Everlast and Edge booth, I think.
Yeah.
When we took that picture, and somebody slid up and was like, "You have a twin?" That's funny.
Yeah, even I think even Mullet Welder, he even said that. I think he mixed me up one time with you too. I think I was in his house, his neck of the woods at his house one time, and he just said, "Mike." There was like one time I actually thought you were Bryn for a second. I was like, "Thank you, I guess."
They're doing a huge raffle soon. Shout out to the Hooded Heroes Foundation. Anybody listening?
Yes.
They're doing a huge raffle. It's a foundation where they get a bunch of necessary equipment and tools for student welders, and they help the less fortunate that want to learn or get into welding and can't afford their own equipment to go to school or get started in the industry.
Yep. Give a hand up instead of a hand out.
Yeah, right. I commented on that raffle. I was like, man, I'll enter, but if I win, just give it to a student, because that would set somebody up for real.
Especially that hood. Good Lord, that thing is amazing.
I think it was custom airbrushed, wasn't it?
Yeah, they said it was cut. It was done by hand, and I was like, no way, that's done by hand.
Yeah,
like, it looks too much like decaled.
Is that what you
impressive.
run, a Lincoln Viking?
Yeah, I got two. I have two different Lincoln Vikings, 3350s, and
Yeah,
they're really good hoods from the years I've had them and abuse I've put them through.
that's what all our instructors ran in college, mine and Andrews.
Yeah.
My college is a little different. They actually, they didn't provide us the majority of our PPE. They provided us the clears for our eyes, but that was pretty much it because we had to go to air gas and go get all two different types of gloves, a hood, a jacket, clamps, different tungstens, um, paint pens, like a whole fillet gauges. We had a list of stuff we had to get, and it cost about $500, and that was just after heavily discounted.
Man,
Yeah.
And
Andrew,
when you're
Andrew and
fresh
I,
in, when you're fresh in college, you're like, I ain't got no $500. What the hell?
yeah, we got pretty fortunate with our college, because they would set us up with jobs and work around our work schedule at local shops with our schooling. But Andrew and we supplied the welding hoods to the rest of the students. We gave out 60 welding hoods to the high school.
Well, that's
Yep.
awesome, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
60 of
I've
Andrew's
seen
hoods.
Andrew's hoods every now and then on my feed and stuff. I'm just like, this dude.
I'm trying. I don't post enough, but man, I'm glad I'm making it across someone's For You page.
Yeah,
Well, I
you've
mean,
been on mine a lot recently, but
well,
you've
yeah,
been
Yeah,
well,
knocking out them
especially
videos.
especially with how much we're a night tight community and stuff with each other. We always see each other's stuff and whether give a like or share it or comment on it, and
yep.
that helps feed your algorithm so that you can get more views, or at least
Exactly.
that's how I understand it, at least. Especially with how algorithms keep changing every
Yeah,
day.
no kidding.
Yeah. Now the holidays are coming up. That really knocks off the algorithm with all the holiday advertising and stuff like that.
Yep.
Well, I guess we still got a while. I don't know why in my head I was thinking it was October.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we are like 6 weeks away from Fabtech,
Yeah.
and then 2 weeks later it's going to be Halloween. Then around the corner it'll be Thanksgiving, then Christmas, and then New Year's, and then the beginning of 2025.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm not looking forward to the winter. That's the
Well,
snow. I don't like the snow.
I don't particularly like the snow either, but this whole week, the job I've been drenched in sweat, so I wouldn't mind a little air conditioning by Mother Nature.
Have you been to a shop with air conditioning?
No, not
Man,
really. There's the closest thing I got to a shop with air conditioning was one of those little blower fans that was underneath the booth and was just blowing air up
Yep.
your shirt and while you're welding because you're like in a small little 4x4 and you're just having the fan blow up your shirt and you're just keeping yourself cool and you're just welding away and trying to hope to God that you don't angle it just right so the air is blowing into your weld and blowing out your gas.
there used to be this guy that I worked with at my former job. Uh, he would take the air hose and cut the nozzle off so it was just free flowing, and he would just stick it in his pocket all day. He just had that air hose connected to him.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, for safety reasons, that's not the smartest idea to do, but
Yeah, I think everybody overlooked it because he was also pretty much our cook. What he did was he would make a bunch of sticky rice and jerky, or if you wanted like curry, he'd make it.
damn,
Like I had quail egg curry. You pay him $20 a week, then he'll bring you a meal for every night or day.
damn, so that's awesome. I
Yeah,
never had nothing like that.
he was the shit. And in return, you also had to give him all your aluminum cans from the energy drinks everybody was drinking.
Ah, what was he doing with what was he doing with the energy drinks?
He would go scrap them,
Oh, okay.
get that scrap material from the aluminum cans.
Man's
I mean,
hustling. He's hustling hard.
I know, but $4 a meal, you can't beat that.
No, no, dude. I'd pay that all day. I paid $40 a week to eat like that.
It was great food too. Quail egg curry is what he had me try one time, and
huh.
it was interesting. I like the sticky rice, but the quail egg curry I could live without.
Yeah, shoot.
So when you're on the road, how do you keep from getting lonely?
Well, there's a few things that helps. Usually it's some of my coworkers I meet that are with the company I work for. They sometimes, I sometimes run into them again on another job, and we'll like shoot the breeze and say what's up. And then there's other friends I've made back home that I could just call up whenever, and as long as they're not too busy, and they'll usually be one call away, and they'll say we'll just shoot the breeze, we'll chit chat. People from my old recovery group that are talking, we're talking about trying to keep each other intact and keep each other accountable in a way. And then I got my mom and my sisters, sometimes my grandparents whenever my grandfather's hearing aids working correctly.
And you've also got your own kind of podcast going on your Instagram.
It's
Instagram
a
Live.
touch. Yeah, it's one of those. It's a touch and go kind of thing. Like I kind of listen. I kind of did the same thing Carissa from Universe Welders did, just interviewing random people. And my problem is that with how crazy my schedule is, I can't set a schedule to it. And so last time I did a video was right before I left Kentucky, about a month ago or 3 weeks ago, yeah. And so I haven't had a chance to figure out the work schedule and figure out who I can bring on for an interview or who's available, because it's either everybody else is either too busy or they don't got time to do it at this time. So I'm just like, all right, that's cool.
Yeah.
Whatever's works for y'all. And then usually I'm trying not to get too far ahead, because if God forbid my contract gets cut early, then I'm like, crap.
Yeah, I don't know how you can live with that uncertainty of, especially like driving, say, 10 hours and then taking a weld test and having that possibility of it failing. Man, I couldn't do that, because you did your first x-ray. Was that in Fargo?
No, that was in Tennessee.
How'd that go?
The way our company works, what happens is they'll send us the description of the client, the job description itself, and if there is or isn't a weld test for the facility, and if we believe that we can pass it, then we say, yeah, we can do the job. And then our recruiter, they'll go into this huddle at a certain time, and then it basically becomes like it's almost like the NFL draft, where we're the players and there are agents, and they're arguing to get us in for their CNC operators, their machinist, or their welding, or the paint line. And it's like, my person's completed this many contracts, he's done this many jobs, he's done this, done that. And then the owners of the companies, they'll say, okay, we'll take him, her. They'll like list who we'll take, and then our recruiters get back to us after they're done with the huddle to see if we got the job or not. And if we didn't get the job, then we wait for them to send us the next one, whatever is available or what's in high demand for us.
Right.
And sometimes there is a well test, sometimes there isn't. So it's easy peasy.
When I'm on the road traveling anywhere, I like to find my favorite spot to eat in that city. Do you do the same thing? Do you find any good spots?
I try to. I got a chance to try a couple of spots while I was in Tennessee. Checked out this one place, Forge, or it was like blacksmith or something. I can't remember the name of it, but I like put it on my Instagram, and there's like very interesting barbecue food, and had wings, and they were actually pretty good. And I tried to find a few local spots here and there that are unique to certain locations, just so I can figure out a time to go try them out, and then try to do a taste test, and see if it's all hype, or if it's just smoke and mirrors.
And speaking of Forge and blacksmith, you do a little bit of blacksmithing at your house when you're back home, right?
Yeah, I mean, mostly it's just been decorative. I mean, I've tried to make a few knives, but they're just made out of railroad ties mostly, which luckily, with in my town, I'm close to a railroad track, so I find a few every now and then.
Yeah, you do some pretty thick roses. Like a lot of people do roses, but not like you do it. Um,
Yeah, that thick rose, that was my first attempt at one, but it was because with how my setup is, like I don't have. I used to have a rosebud, and I used to just do that, but of what I only have my big propane forge to heat up the product, and I mean I've already seen people use like the thin material and stuff to just make their little stuff, but then I like worry about the little edges and stuff
yeah,
because
Yep.
I mean they seem to be sharp,
Oh yeah.
and I've thought why not do something a little different, so I had this huge tank in my shop for over 5 years. And I was like, you know what? I was going to use this for a smoker and a trailer, but never got a chance to do it because material and just never got to it. And I'm like, I just use it for something else. So I just started cutting it up in sections and started just said, hey, let's make some roses since I see everybody else do them. Let me see if I can make something different. And then that thick rose was I actually ended up giving that to my great grandmother for her birthday / Christmas, and I think she put it out in her garden just for decorations and stuff, and then I just started making more, and then I just posted it online. People were like, hey, I want one, I want one too. I'm like, okay, I'll start making more, and then I'll started cutting more and started making more rose petals or just little circles with little sections cut, just freehanding in a way, and just found more rod and just kept doing it over and over. Just kept repetitiveness.
and so here, you being from Kansas version of in Nebraska we got Runza. Have you heard of Runza?
No, I never heard that.
Oh my gosh. Well, you guys have like Brahms, you know.
Oh, Brahms. Okay.
So I'd say you guys care about Brahms like Nebraskans care about Runzas. Runza is like a how do you explain this, Andrew? It's like a hot pocket with beef and cabbage and cheese, or you can get a Swiss mushroom. Is that a good way to explain it, Andrew? Like
Dude, the problem is I never really liked Runza. I'm not gonna
oh
lie.
my
In
gosh.
all my years of living there, I did not really care for Runza. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. The French fries are good, and they got killer ranch and a
Yeah.
good burger, but I don't know about the whole Runza side of it.
Man, Big Mike, you drove through Nebraska. You probably saw like 10 Runzas along the way to Fargo.
Probably. I mean, I was a little too focused on the road. Well, for one, I was trying to get to North Dakota in time so I could make sure I was ready for the next day or go through orientation and all that shit. But
Man,
I don't think I got a chance to see much of Nebraska because I was just driving through it, and I don't think there's anything different between your place and Kansas. I mean, I know we have our little football rivalry between Huskers and everyone.
yeah, Nebraska ain't much to look at, but next time you go through, actually reach out to me and I'll go to Runza with you.
All right, that sounds like a plan. I mean, we did try when I was going through, but that was my fault. I should have let people know I was going that direction before. I just posted next to your state sign, and you're just like, hey, me, I'm like, hey, you're going through Nebraska. I was like, yeah. It's like, come by this area. And I was like, I just drove past it.
Man,
Sorry.
it would have been a bad time anyways. My house, that was right when I bought my house. We were doing all the renovations and all that.
Oh
So,
no, you hadn't bought your house yet. This is
oh really?
October. You were still
Yeah,
in your old house, but it was on my way back because my contract ended early, and I was coming back through your area, and I was like trying to hit you up since you told me to, and you said it was a bad time because you had just bought your house. Like okay,
that's right.
no sweat, that's fine, I understand.
Man, I
Well,
wanted to,
we'll try
I
again
wanted,
some other time.
yeah, I wanted to take you to this place called Sutter's Deli. Did you ever have that when you were here, Andrew?
I don't think so. No.
Oh man, it sucks because they're only open on like weekdays, but it's like a voluntary little deli, and they make their own bread. They make It's so good. It's also the cookie company, but man, their baking and their sandwiches are next to none. It sounds weird because it's just a sandwich, but it's good.
I love a
But
good deli. I'm not gonna lie. I love a good
yeah,
deli.
next time you swing through Big Mike, we'll get something going. I'll get
Yeah,
you a Don Julio.
hopefully we'll see what happens after. I'm supposed to be here in Ohio for the next 4 months, and so by that time it'll be Christmas. So we'll see if this place wants to offer an extension, or if I decide if I want to extend. It kind of is up to at that point. It's a waiting game at this point.
Yeah. Have you started at the shop yet? I know you just got there.
Yeah, the orientation, it's on Mondays. They just go through their little safety, their videos and stuff, and their procedures for whatever happens, whether it's spills, trips, all that crap, and just basically if you're doing something stupid, and if they have to send you to the hospital or something, and then they then throw you into the shop, and if you're being tested, you get your test, and then you wait for your results and stuff. At some places, this place it was more like they just threw me into their fabrication floor, and like, okay, here's your station. These are your coworkers. These are the stuffs you're building. So have at it. I'm like, all right, cool.
And if somebody listening to the podcast right now is interested in being a traveling welder, what would be your best advice for them?
To get on, or just in
Yes,
general?
to get on.
To get on, it's just hop on Indeed and look for travel welding jobs, jobs with per diem, and you'll run into a few because I believe so far I've met 4 different companies that do it, and then just make sure you have a pretty good resume with whatever it is that they need, whether it is CNCs or machinists, or if you're just a welder, just make sure you give a good list of the stuff that you've done, so that they're not tossing you into something and you're completely unknown to a product or an item.
And was that first job pretty nerve wracking when you started to travel? Well, I guess it wasn't too far from.
I mean, it was kind of because, well, for one, I was hoping to be out of the state for my first assignment. Just all the jobs that kept popping up just kept saying no to me for a while, and then finally one said yes, and it just happened to be Kansas. And I mean, just the size was just, it was a little intimidating, but once you got into your station and once you kind of got a groove going, it just became second nature. And then just the only time that job, there was only like one little problem we had. It was just with the the floor manager. He was getting a little too tight for. He was getting a little too. He was getting. He was blah, blah, blah. He was getting too. He was too much of a hothead, and he was starting to cause conflicts with everybody. And some of our guys end up dragging up, and it was just one of those situations where it's like, I don't think I can drag up because that would be bad.
Yeah.
But our project manager said that if the person's making it a hostile work environment, then your contract can get ended, but it won't count against you. I'm like, oh, okay. They're like, well, do you want to? I'm like, no, I'm good. So it's just one of those things where you learn as you go. I mean, there's only been one job where I've actually been cut early because I kind of stood up for myself, and instead of going to my project manager, it ended up costing me. Unfortunately, it put me on a blacklist to where I had to complete my next assignment, which I had to complete my assignment with Fargo, but just stay employed with this company.
Yeah.
But it was still pretty good. I still turned out pretty good. I mean, only negative side is when you have to go work with jobs with unions. That's the only thing I have to deal. It's the only big problem I ever have to deal with.
We hate the unions, huh?
I don't necessarily hate the union. It's more like their originality is, it's understandable. It's just nowadays you get some of those people, they're cool, but then you also deal with some of those guys. You're just like, they act like they almost are on the borderline. It's a cult almost.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I mean, my actual first subcontracting job, I was actually on a union job, and it was actually before I got on with this company. It was actually back home, and they were building this new facility in Garden City for a new beef plant or something, and I get a phone. I was in the middle of in between jobs at the time, and I get this phone call from somebody from Minnesota. I'm just like, who the hell do I know in Minnesota? I like answer the phone. I'm like, hello, and he says, "Is this Michael Barnett?" I'm like, "Are you a telemarketer?" He's like, "No." He's like, "IRS?" He's like, "No." "Government?" He's like, "No." "Oh, what can I?" Yeah, I was like, "That's me." He's like, "Who are you?" I was like, "My name is so and so. I'm with this company," and I'm like, "Okay, I don't know you. How do you know? How do you get my number?" And he's like, "Your resume is on Indeed." I was like, "I didn't send you my resume." He's like, "I started looking for welders in your area, and you popped up." I was like, "Oh, okay. What can I do for you?" He said, "Well, we got a job coming up around your neck of the woods here in a couple of weeks, and we need some welders that are local." I'm like, "Okay." It's like, how good are you at ironworking and running and welding stainless steel? I'm like, "I'm decent at the stainless steel. I've been an ironworker for about 5-8 years now." He's like, "Got any certs under your belt?" I'm like, "I'm gonna have to probably test for your facility, aren't I?" He's like, "Yeah, you will. Just want to see if you can do it." I'm like, "Yeah, I can do it." So we meet up. I meet him, and we get cool and everything. He tells me when my start date is. We discuss pay, and they agree to it. And I get on the job, and I find out all these guys are union workers, and about 4 or 5 of the guys, they were all good with me there, and we were actually all getting along real good for a while. And then this operator, he was with the Illinois, one of the Illinois unions, and he's seen me run a skid steer. I'm rigging cranes. I'm grabbing rods for everybody. I'm like the ultimate ground man. Their words. And the operator, he's like impressed with my work. He's like, "Dang, Barnett, you're one hell of a worker. What union are you with?" I was like, "Oh, I'm not in the union." And his face just did a whole complete 180. And he's like, "What the hell? Why is this motherfucker on our job site?" I was like, "Did I miss
Jeez.
something?" And he's like, "This is a union job." I'm like, "The fuck it is." It's like, "This is Kansas, man. We're a right to work state, man." It's like nearly half the guys on this job facility are non-union workers. Like, how do you know? It's like, well, I've been to his daughter's quinceanera. I've been to his family's christening. I've been to his kid's baptism. It's like we're all in a night tick community here of Hispanics and white guys and German Mennonites. We're workers. And he's like, "Well, this is BS. It's like, this is supposed to be a union job." I'm like, "Dude, it's like, I'm here to work just like you. I'm just not paying a union due and all that crap."
Just not
It's
here
like,
to suck as many dicks as you are. That's all. That's the only difference.
well, I mean, he was actually trying to get me thrown off the job site, and
Damn.
and he actually threatened to drag up if they didn't fire me. And I was like, "Go ahead, drag up." He's like, "No one else can run this crane, but I can. I can." I'm like, "Bullshit." Like, it's like, if you look over next door, next to this facility, there are a bunch of crane operators I have connections with, and I can call them, and I know they're licensed to run this crane. And he's like, "Bullshit." I'm like, "Okay." Start calling some of my old coworkers that were crane operators. I'm like, "Hey, so and so, you licensed to run this crane over here?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm licensed for it." I'm like, "Okay, hang on." Call another one. Same question. He's like, "Yeah, I can run it." I'm like, it's like, "Want me to keep going?" And he's like, "Now look, I'm not here to take your job. I'm not here to fuck. I'm not going to be joining you guys on the road. I'm just here to do this job, and then that's it." It's like, so we can play kumbaya. We can go ahead, shake each other's hands, act like nothing happened, and I'm going to be nice, and I'm going to ask you this one question: You want a water? He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "You want two?" He's like, "Yeah, okay." I'm like, "Okay." It's like, I'm so glad we can understand each other.
The
And he
fact
left
that
me
you
alone
had to,
after.
yeah, the fact that you
He
had to
left
do
me,
that though was pitiful.
he
That's
left me
unfortunate.
alone after that, and I mean, he actually tried to. Some of the guys that tried to convince me to go join the union, and I was just like, "Well, to be honest, man, Kansas isn't that good of a union state. We're right to work. Most of the guys here in Kansas, if they want to go work for a union, they have to either go to Oklahoma or Colorado, and I think Texas is the same way, and I think the only reason why is just because Kansas, we're just too much of a farming area, not much of a need for the union, and majority of the people there, they're already either farmers or they're working at Tyson, Cargill, or National Beef, and in the Southwest Kansas corner area at least, and so they're not much needed.
Right. Well, Big Mike, we got about just shy of an hour of good footage. Here's something we ask every guest before we end the episode. What is your favorite genre of music to listen to while you work or weld?
Well, it's kind of funny. Don't really listen to music that often. I I mostly listen to podcasts. Like I listen to your guys. So
Us, yep.
listen to Weld.com or Art Junkies, and then I listen to a bunch of other podcasts. But when I've gone through everything, like I'll listen to some dubstep, country, rock, hip hop, and it's a whole Rolodex of music in my phone.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely run out of podcasts to listen to, and then I'll switch genres of music too. I feel that. We
And also,
appreciate. What's that?
it just kind of depends also on what I'm doing exactly as far as work wise. If I'm like doing a test, I listen to something calming so my nerves don't get the best of me. And when I'm working and jamming out, it's usually country and a little bit of rock here and there. It's just a giant shuffle in my phone.
Right. We appreciate you coming on, Big Mike. Thank you so much for doing this last minute. And thank you for taking that early slot. That's a hard one to fill. But good luck on this job. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Check out the Everlast link for the upgraded Nova TIG torch and foot pedal package, free of additional charge with every order through the link in the show notes. Edge Welding Cups, code BrynWelds15, and through that link. And Andrew?
And go on over to southernleatherworks.net to get all your custom leatherworks need fulfilled, custom welding hoods and custom belts as well. Big Mike, thank you for coming on. We appreciate you coming on early and talking with us about everything from FR to dealing with union guys.
And all of Big Mike's links will also be in the description and his Bokomo code. Thank you.
Thank you guys.